Greetings everybody, my name is Mark Fitzsimons with Tualatin Riverkeepers. We're here at King City Community Park today. King City Community Park is another one of the locations where you can access the Tualatin River for paddling, whether it be a canoe, a kayak, a paddleboard, an inflatable. And we'll talk you through some of the features of this particular launch site. We'll tell you a little bit more about some of the unique features of the river that you'll experience by launching here. And we'll talk a little bit about its context on the Tualatin River Water Trail. First, we have just up over the hill here in front of me, wonderful parking lot, two parking lots, one hard surfaced, one gravel. We've got toilets up there. And we've got a nice flat, approximately 100-yard trail to get here up to the top of this hill. The challenge with this site, it's an unimproved site, meaning that there have been no efforts made yet to formally bring in the kinds of features that make a launch site like this safe and usable for the public. The last 20 yards here are on a little switchback trail, through the weeds on a fairly steep hill. So you have to be prepared for that. This is a great example of the kind of launch that we really suggest that as a paddler, you check out first before you actually plan to use it as part of your trip or your launch. The setting on the river, we're about a mile upstream from the 99W launch, the launch that's underneath Highway 99, and we're over 20 miles from the nearest launch further upstream. So this launch really affords you access to this absolutely amazing stretch of the river, starting right behind me, which is Metro's Heritage Pine Natural Area. The Heritage Pine itself is just up over the hill there. Beyond that, we've got Tualatin River National Wildlife Refuge, which an awful lot of you are familiar with from the Visitor Center, the Interpretive Center, the interpretive trails, the ponds. Well, when you paddle the Tualatin through it, you see a whole nother side of that National Wildlife Refuge, which is just spectacular. And as you travel further and further up the river, you'll go through multiple units of that National Wildlife Refuge, some which don't even have public access from roads or highways. The river itself here is your standard typical Tualatin River. There's virtually no current. It's an absolutely wonderful paddle experience for people of any ability, any level of paddling. Paddling upstream is very, very easy. Paddling back downstream, kind of doing this as a loop, is definitely a nice way to enjoy it. You can also launch from here and do a shuttle. You can plop your other car or your other paddlers further downstream, 1 mile, Cook Park about 2 miles, Tualatin Community Park, add another 1.5 miles, a couple more miles down to Browns Ferry. Lots of options by using this as your furthest upstream option. A couple things about these unimproved sites. There are way too many of them along the Tualatin River. Way too many of them in terms of they really limit public access to a lot of the stretches of the Tualatin River that offer some of the most wonderful wildlife paddling experiences. This one in particular is associated with a park with King City, but we have unimproved launches associated with Clackamas County, with Washington County, with ODOT. All of them are usable. They're publicly accessible, but they're definitely a challenge, and they're definitely a long ways away from being, what we would consider providing equitable access to all paddlers. A couple other things I'd like to stress here. These kind of launches are not very well known, and one thing that we're trying to do with this series of videos is to get the word out about these launches, to get more people out on these stretches of the river, enjoying the Tualatin River, and talking about them, contacting their Metro council members, their Washington County commissioners, their King City council members, and saying, hey, we really value the Tualatin River. We wish we had more access to it. I went down to Cook Park last weekend and I couldn't park. There was no room. I went to Tualatin Community Park. There was no room. I came here to King City. I had room, I could park, but I kind of took my life into my own hands here, you know, during this last little stretch of trail. You know, not all of us are physically able to cover this last 20 yards or so of trail here. Final thing I want to stress about this site is your proximity to nature. What is wonderful about this site is what happens, you know, when I stop talking. And it's just this absolute silence around me. I've been listening to a couple of flickers over here, having some sort of a conversation in the brush. Scrub jays and a Steller's jay over here were vocalizing just a little bit ago. I heard a couple of the whip, whip notes from, that was a flicker right there, from a Swainson's thrush. And when we were paddling here yesterday, just upstream, we saw a juvenile pied-billed grebe, and we had a mink sighting just downstream from here. So a lot of wildlife experiences that you may not have further down on the Tualatin, where particularly on busy weekends, a lot of the resident wildlife is just kind of looking for a place to hide. So it's, I guess to summarize, King City Community Park, the launch is about a little over 100 yards away from the parking lot. The last 20 yards, because it's an unimproved launch, is a little bit of a challenge. Definitely check it out before you try to use this one. But definitely consider it as a opportunity if what you really like is this quiet, wildlife-filled experiences. If you want to learn more, if you like what you're hearing here, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're continuing this series of videos on these launches, and I know you want to hear more about some of the other unimproved launches that we have not covered yet. Thanks, everybody.